You guys are watching the program this morning on ITV. It's time now for the first discussion segment, and here we look at aviation. And topic is what we started last week, and this takeoff in known adverse weather condition. It is going to be done, of course, with your number one aviation freak, Mr. GODDY Ike. Very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Joe. How are you today?
Okay.
How was your weekend?
Yeah, very beautiful.
Wonderful, wonderful.
We're in part two
Yes.
of a takeoff in known adverse weather condition. Now, what do we have in part two?
Very well, Joe will be continuing with where we left it off last week. We'll be repeating the last two clips to refresh the memories of their viewers and get them to understand what they need to understand, about what happened to ADC Flight 53 in 2006. So if we have our clip one on, we hit the ground running because time is usually not our friend on this program. So Joe, here we are. The flight continues. The ABUJA ATC further informed the crew that a thunderstorm was approaching the airport and that weather situation was worsening. At 11:26 a.m. and in spite of the grave warnings from the ABUJA ATC, that's the air traffic control, the crew requested clearance for immediate takeoff. The ABUJA ATC further harped on the deteriorating weather condition, which the crew clearly acknowledged. That means the captain and his first officer knew clearly the weather was not friendly and they shouldn't have embarked on that takeoff. They acknowledged from ATC, but right after taking off from the runway 22, the Boeing 737 entered into a headwind shift to tailwind shear, which instantly affected the aerodynamic performance of the aircraft. Now, if we go to clip 2, we'll take a better look. We have this the photograph blown up a little bit so that our viewers will understand what I'm about to explain graphically. Now, Joe, take a look at that photograph. And we're not concerned with the airplane that is approaching for landing. You can see that airplane approaching for landing. That is not the ADC Flight 53 we want to talk about.
That one is on its own.
Yeah. Can you see on the left side of the runway on the ground another airplane taxiing to a holding point for positioning for takeoff? Can you see that on the ground to the left? Right? That is the one that represents the ADC Flight 53 for us. In order to understand what happened to that airplane on that fateful day. It's gone to the holding point and it's been cleared for takeoff, and then it taxis into the threshold, turns left and gets ready to put on the blast of his, two jet engines. Now, imagine for 1 second that the microburst you're looking at, that downdraft with outflows you're looking at, just in your mind's eye, shift that thing further towards 1 kilometer away from the runway. In your mind's eye, get it 1 kilometer away from, but on the path of the takeoff of the airplane. So see the outflow, and then if you come back to us, my viewers will now be able to understand with this miniature in the studio what went on. Now the outflow facing the airplane gave it a headwind, which of course naturally tipped up the airplane. Normally when you take off, what happens is you take off, and as you get, say, about 5,000 feet above the sea level, you tuck in your wheels and then push a little to your stick to reduce your pitch. You reduce your pitch so that you can gain airspeed. And then as you gain airspeed, the plane rises vertically. Because
at the same time.
Yes. Often those who do not understand how this machine works think that soaring into the sky is about this. No. I will explain to you what happens when you get on this, which was what happened to that airplane, and it got it, fall off the skies with conspiracy of wind shear. That's not what really takes you up into the skies, especially with these passenger jets. Yes, for war jets that have more power and more speed, and that are designed for dogfighting in the air. Yes, they can do this, they can do that, and anything. But for passenger jets, takeoff is that way, and then reduce the pitch and move on, and as you move on, you rise. Because in actual sense, what's happening is that airflow gets over the wings, and because the Bernoulli's principle that I told you about says that the one flowing on top of this curved surface is faster than the air flowing beneath the wing, thereby creating low pressure on top of the wings, and then high pressure beneath. So with low pressure over here and high pressure there, then the plane is pushed up into the sky. That's how, so the elevators only do you this: pitch up, pitch down. That's all it does for you. It's not for you to get your plane up this way and think that you're going to soar into the sky.
Okay, now let
me now conclude what, based on that microbus that you saw. As soon as the pilots ignored the warning from ATC and still went on the takeoff, they got out there just as at the time they were supposed to reduce their pitch in order to gain airspeed. The outflow facing them, which gave them headwind, tipped them up further into the skies. And soon, remember, they were cheering away at high speed to gain ascent into the skies. They left the region of the outflow headwind and got into the region of the downdraft, that vertical push of microburst from the skies, and that hit the airplane and started sinking the airplane into the terrain. Now the pilots panicked and pulled hard on their control column, sending this airplane. Even the co-pilot was overheard during investigation, of the voice recorder, was overheard calling on his captain to pull up, pull up. It was wrong. So what did they do? They got the airplane up this way. Now, wind, rather than flow over the wings, now the critical angle of attack had increased from what it used to be just here to there, now from here to there. And then wind was now hitting the flat surfaces of the two wings. What did he do? Slow down the aircraft, and then bring it to below the minimum speed that keeps it in the sky, and the airplane stalled. What was more, these jet engines that need air to survive and to work well are now pointed this way, and they are not getting
certainly
enough
they will get
air into the system. The compressors that give you that high pressure gaseous air, that goes back in order to push you forward. Remember the jet engines, action and reaction equal and opposite. Those compressors stalled as well. So what happened to this airplane as it was in this position? Lost all airspeed and then stalled. It was said to have gone this way at 90 degrees. It was doomed. At this position, it was doomed. It went on this way. This wing hit a tree and then came all the way down in this fashion and broke up and, of course, caught fire. So this graphically speaking.
But the ATC, of course, we are told they denied them access to fly.
No.
By your explanation.
No. They didn't deny them access. They warned them that the weather was unfriendly and that wind shear had set in, and they had gusty wind, this sharp and forceful wind. Now it was for the captain to understand that ATC was saying, please don't fly.
That is where
don't fly.
That's where I'm actually going to.
Yeah.
If you have an agency in the Nigerian Airport Authority or the Federal Airport Authority that gives you this kind of advice, I want to believe that ATC can still, push harder and say, because of what we have noticed, you cannot fly. Can they, push?
Yeah, they are authorized by law to stop. But Joe, it is also on record that severally, not only in Nigeria, severally, pilots had argued with them and gone into downright obstinacy and wouldn't obey their instructions, and more often than not end up in a crash. The records are all there. So that's the reason that we, apart from training these individuals professionally to do what they know how to do.
So that means ATC can only advise. They can't stop.
They can advise and order a stop, but it's just like your little son in the house. You sometimes say, hey Mike, come on, come off there. Does he always come off? If your little boy in the house is playing with something that you consider dangerous to his life, and you scream out at him, as me his name is Mike, hey Mike, come on, can you leave there? That's dangerous. Is it always the case that they leave there?
But when it comes when it comes to that scenario,
you go and drag him out.
Yeah, that's where I'm going to. Yeah. But in this particular one, ATC can give an order to the traffic or air controller or whatever they are, that of course directs the pilot to move, and they can say you just cannot direct
their business
or the plane to leave.
Their business is not to fight with pilots. Their business is to issue instructions and expect their instructions obeyed. For instance, one other one, yet again ADC, if you remember, that crashed in Lagos and fell into the lagoon, if you remember that case, that was coming from Port Harcourt. The captain was informed by ATC that another airplane that was taking off was on its flight path. Now, Joe, those individuals in ATC were in a position to know exactly everybody's position and no points of conflict. But what did the captain reply? Oh, never mind. I have him on site. The captain of that ADC claimed that plane that was taken off, that they had asked him to make a detour. They actually gave him an instruction to turn to a certain heading, a heading that would have taken him off course a little bit, to allow that one that was taken off to get out of the way, and then he will come back all the way for his landing run, or his final approach. But the pilot argued with the man and said, never worry, I have him on site. That is to say, he was seeing that airplane visually. But the pilot forgot something. There's something called refraction. You can carry out an experiment with refraction when you get home, or even when I live here, you get a bucket of water. Get a straight stick, or ruler, as straight as a ruler. Put it in that bucket of water. Take a look at it. You will see that straight stick will appear bent to one direction. Carry it out, and viewers, if you are listening to me, please carry out that experiment at home. Get a bucket of water. Get something that is as straight as a ruler. put it into the water and take a look. You see it bent to a particular direction. You will think it's actually facing that direction, when in actual sense it's standing there vertically. That is called in physics refraction. Refraction also takes place in the skies. And that's why when ATC informs a pilot, please change direction, there is a conflict that we're looking at. The pilot should not tell the ATC, I'm maintaining a visual contact with the object. No, the object may seem to be going another direction, when in actual sense is coming at you by means of refraction. And that was what happened to that airplane. By the time the pilot realized that he was actually on a collision course, he took a dive, and his speed was already too slow, because remember, he was coming into land. So, and laden with full load of passengers from Port Harcourt, he couldn't recover from the dive. He took a dive, one obviously pulled to get his plane up back in the sky, but his speed was too low, so the air pressure both on the elevators and the wings were too low to sustain the weight of the airplane. So the airplane went down until it sank into the lagoon and slaughtered people. So these are the professional things that we are insisting the pilots must do things better. So let's quickly take one last look at that clip 2, and then quickly transit to clip 3. So that is microburst for you, and that was what brought down ADC flight 53. And of course, with the obstinacy of the pilots who didn't listen to ATC, the air traffic control. Let's move to clip 3 very quickly. Right, the flight continues. As the ADC flight 53 struggled to climb into the skies, outflows from the microburst that had set in gave the plane a powerful headwind. I've explained that already. The pilot flying erroneously responded to the wind shear by adding some engine power and pulling back on the control stick, thereby increasing the plane's angle of attack beyond acceptable limit. Worse still was a call from the pilot not flying, that is the first officer, that the pilot flying should pull up. These erroneous responses to the wind shear by the two pilots instantly caused an aerodynamic stall. The plane then rolled to the left by over 90 degrees and steeply descended into the terrain. The plane, on impact into the terrain, broke up and caught fire in a cornfield located at a village called Tungamadaki within FCT Abuja. Clip 4, please, quickly. Here we go, Joe. The flight continues. The Abuja ATC, that's the air traffic control, made several efforts to reach the plane on radio without a response. A clear indication the airplane had been lost. The Abuja Flight Communication Center was then advised to inform National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, in Kano about the loss of contact with the aircraft. But at 11:38 a.m., Flight Communication called the Abuja ATC that someone from a nearby village, that's Tungamadaki village, reported that a plane had crashed in their village. A search party from the airport went, found and confirmed that the plane had crashed shortly after takeoff. 96 people were confirmed dead. Now, Joe, it took that report from a villager.
Yeah, but you see, if you look at the clip, that clip 3, your
yes.
explanation there clearly shows that wind shear is really pilot's nightmare.
Oh yeah.
Because at that point, it appears that the pilot is even confused.
As a matter of fact, there was nothing actually he could have done better, because he didn't have height advantage. Anytime.
Because he didn't know that he is going to face with.
No, we can't say that, because that's why we call this takeoff in known adverse weather. That's why we titled it Takeoff in known. He was warned. ATC did its job. It was for him as captain and alpha and omega of that airplane to make a decision not to take to the air. ATC had done its job. Remember within 6 minutes.
Severally and he landed
well. Every day for the thief, and one day for the owner of the house. So the best way is do not take chances. Everything in aviation is safety, safety, and safety. Nothing in between. Airplanes are faithful. Human operators are unfaithful and dishonest, and that's why they follow the skies. Let's move forward. I think
clip 5 now.
Let's go to clip 5.
That should be the last clip.
No. The Accident Investigation Bureau, AIB, assisted by experts from the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, swung into action by visiting the accident site. Remember, they visited belatedly because the radar at the airport at the time was not turned on, and so nobody knew where the airplane headed and where it fell down. And so it took a while, and then a fire consumed people that should have survived had authorities known where the plane fell. Unfortunately, this keeps going on, and we hope that by this kind of program we're doing and revealing some of these, that authorities will get more serious and save more lives. Now, based on their investigations, the following facts were established. 1, that the left wing of the aircraft first made contact with a tree branch. 2, the aircraft impacted the ground with a high nose-up position and an extreme left bank. 3, that on disintegration, a fuel spill ignited an inferno. 6, quickly, we just have 6 and 7 to go and we're done. We're 6 there. Okay, AIB findings from the black box. Now listen to this, Joe, it's very interesting. AIB's analysis of the black box revealed the following. 1, as evidenced by the cockpit voice recorder CVR, ABUJA ATC informed the crew, and the crew confirmed the reports of the wind shear. Can you understand this now? They were informed and they confirmed that there was wind shear around the zone. During takeoff, the intensity of the rain increased to heavy. Still, the man went on with his takeoff. 3, the CVR revealed that at the call of 80 knots by the first officer, the captain responded, "Ah," rather than checked. He should have responded checked, but he said, "Ah," an indication that something was going on wrong at 80 knots. Remember, during takeoff, I'll tell you how the calls happen. As you put on your full power and blast on, the captain not flying, or rather the first officer, whoever is handling, because sometimes the first officer may be flying and the captain will be doing calls for him, will watch the speedometer, and then when you hit 80 knots, he announces it 80 knots. And then at 80 knots, if you have issues, you can stop the airplane. You can apply your reverse thrust, apply your mechanical brakes, and you'll be able to stop within the available space on the runway at 80 knots. But as soon as a few seconds after 80 knots, as soon as you hit your V1 and you get a call of V1, no matter what goes wrong, you must stick to the skies. That's how it works, Joe. At 80 knots, if there's an issue, you can stop. But at V1, you must take off, no matter what, and then pray to God that you're able to make a turnaround and come and land safely.
That's if there's an issue.
If there's an issue. So, when his first officer said 80 knots, the captain said, "Ah." He should have said checked to say all is fine. But he said, "Ah."
Which means there was an issue.
So there was an issue. And he still went on. That's claims he should have slammed on his brakes, pull back on his throttle stick, pull up his thrust reversers, and struggle to keep the plane to a stop before the end of the runway. That's what he should have done. Well, he said, "Ah," and still went on with his push. And then an indication something was awfully wrong. That's number 3 we're doing there. The V1 call out followed, because at V1, no more chance, you must take off. And then, of course, it soared into the sky. 4 seconds after, the landing gear was retracted, and the V2 call out was given by the first officer. I mean, V2 is usually called out when you're already up in the skies, and that's when you should tuck in your wheels and then reduce your pitch and gain your airspeed and tear out. The last clip, very quickly, let's get out of this studio. Time is hitting us hard now. Number 7. AIB findings from the black box continues. 2 seconds after the V2 call out, a wind shear warning was triggered as the aircraft encountered a change in wind speed and direction. In a faulty effort to recover the aircraft, the crew pitched the nose up to 35 degrees. That's crazy, Joe. You can't do that. That will stall you instantly, thereby exceeding the critical angle of attack. We've done angle of attack on this program, haven't we? Very well. So you understand it, Joe. Activating the stick shaker. You remember the stick shaker? One of those things that will tell you that this plane is about to stall. You have bomb, bomb, bomb terrain, bomb, bomb, bomb terrain, telling you that you are sinking into the terrain, and then your control stick begin to shake, and you know, all those kind of things, telling the pilot, listen, you are in deep trouble. This plane is about to fall off the skies. All right. The high pitch attitude denied the engines the needed airflow, causing both engines to experience compressor stall. Ground proximity warning systems, the GPWS, was heard producing terrain warning, what I have just sounded to you, pom 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 terrain, pom 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 terrain. And then that's where you go, and until impact. Of course, the plane crashed.
Yeah, okay, that is of course where this slide for today ends, and we'll just do quick analysis in 30 seconds to wrap up.
Yeah, ask questions so that viewers...
No, it's very clear what actually happened there, which is largely caused by wind shear.
That's correct.
And of course,
microburst induced wind shear. Induced wind shear.
Of course, it also clearly states that that's by my own understanding.
Yes.
The pilots really was confused.
Yeah, the pilots were confused. Not just being confused, were recalcitrant and obstinate. The ATC did everything to. Can you imagine when they were at the holding point, Joe? For 6 minutes that they were at the holding point, they got 6 different weather warnings. So one every minute. And it wasn't as if it was getting better. If the
no, but at times when
the update.
Let's take this to the doorstep of passengers. When some of this advice or warning is given to pilots and of course the airlines, do passengers get to know some of this?
No.
Don't you see that as an issue?
No, see, Joe, all these things happen within the cockpit. I remember it's a small...
Because I am very sure that some passengers would decide not to fly. I mean, having that kind of warning from the ATC.
Joe, if you get communication between ATC and the crew into the cabin, you have chaos in the airplane. It's even worse. It's not safe, and no one will ever approve such a system where communication between ATC and crew will be heard by passengers. Of course, somebody is going to get hysterical. Hold on a moment.
It will help safety.
No, it won't help
safety.
Joe, it won't help in any way.
Will just be troubling.
Joe, it will not help people. A lot of people will get hysterical and get off their seats and maybe surge forward towards the cockpit to go and scream at the pilot, and in the process, maybe that some communication comes across when you're already doing a takeoff run, and you find passengers getting up from their seats and rushing to the cockpit to scream at the pilots. That will worsen the situation. You can't do a thing like that.
Okay.
The point is, pilots need to be more obedient, and they need to be more safety conscious and ensure. That is also not to say, Joe, that occasionally that ATC don't make mistakes. I tell you, they do make mistakes.
Okay, let's leave that for another day. Our time is, of course, fast spent. And when it comes to time, honestly, you agree with me when I most time end the discussion. Pilots needs to be serious. They need to be safety conscious. The word of Nigeria's #1 aviation.
Next week, part 3.
Part 3 is coming your way next week. And on this note, we say many thanks for spending your time with us on this discussion. It has been with GODDY Iki. Many thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
My dear viewers, let's do it again next week. Come back,
Barrister Hamid will be taking us on what the position of National Assembly is when it comes to recruitment of security personnel to tackle the issue of insecurity in Nigeria. Stay with us.